starting. All right, we're live. All right.
Okay.
You. First question. Ask your team to help you understand some background on sexual harassment law before you start the case. Let's see.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Ask one student, what is sexual harassment?
Well, there is two different ways to explain sexual harassment, I guess. But it's any unwelcome sexual advances, I guess, would be a really simple way of saying it.
Very simple and very to the point. Okay. Based on Martinez's story, does her situation constitute sexual harassment? If it does, why?
Martinez's story?
Yes,
Julia. I just think of her as Julia.
Yeah, Julia Martinez.
Okay. Yes, it is definite sexual harassment.
Okay, why do you say it's sexual harassment?
Because of his trying to crowd her, brush up against her, and then he went in and touched inside her shirt.
Yes.
So for me, that is definite sexual contact and touching that she's very uncomfortable with and is not appropriate.
Yes. Is it quo pro quo or hostile work environment?
See, this is what I'm not sure on when that question was up. And what do you think? Because is he saying that he will fire her if he told her not to scream because he would say he didn't do anything? But is he saying she'll be fired if she doesn't do something?
It doesn't say anything about that in the case, so
right.
I don't know.
So I would say it's not the quid pro quo, but it's the hostile work environment harassment.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts, because I don't see anywhere where it's saying that she's going to be fired.
Correct. Okay. From reading the note on sexual harassment, do you think DeCoste got accurate advice when he called the counsel's office?
Well, for me, she did say, and it made really good sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Where was it? So it's when she said, in a nutshell, on page 3, she said, people aren't always in a position to speak up for themselves. And some parts of sexual harassment law are murky, but one thing that crystal clear is that a company like ours can be held responsible for what goes on in the workplace. And then she says, and kind of the rest of that paragraph, so you're under oath, so you tell the truth of what you said, and we get nailed because it looks like we've ignored the problem, we've condoned it, is right there saying that if he doesn't address it, that it's almost like he's condoning the behavior because he doesn't say anything. And in a court of law, that's what the conclusion will be. And so I think that, to me, gave me a good indication that she's saying you need to say something or else the company's held responsible.
Yeah.
And you're condoning the behavior.
Correct.
So it sounded like it was good advice, I guess, is the bottom line.
Yes. Okay, question number 6. Why might a lawyer representing the company insist on instituting a formal investigatory process?
Investigatory.
Investigate the investigating process.
Okay.
Some words
You
I
want
took.
to answer that one?
Why might a lawyer representing the company insist on instituting a formal investigation process? Well, I could see there's two reasons for that. One is that um, it can actually look bad for the company, for the victim, in that the company really doesn't care. And if she does not see that the company is doing something, then she thinks that everyone's out to get her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the
That,
company can be sued later on if they don't look into it,
yeah,
especially if it's been brought to their attention.
correct.
And also, I think there's two sides to a story, is my thinking too. So the way she sees it and the way he sees it are two different things. So, or it may have been something totally different than what actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
But my guess is that she is not trying to get anyone in trouble on purpose, because it was a phone call he overheard, not that she's trying to tell a lie. Like she was telling someone else and he overheard it.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Part 2, DaCosta's Dilemma. Ask one student. Sorry, you're the only other student here. So sorry about that.
I know.
How would you evaluate Jack DaCosta's options at this point? What do you think he should do? You might want to do a quick vote. We only have 2 people.
We don't even have 3, so we don't have a tiebreaker.
Find out how many students okay. All right, we're not doing that because there's only 2 of us. All right. So quiet, Ammon. All right. So how would you evaluate Jack DaCosta's options at this point? What do you think he should do? Do you think that he should stay quiet, or do you think he should actually report it?
No, he's held responsible. Once he's learned about it, he needs to report the issue and let the investigation determine whether or not it's a true case or not.
Yeah.
I know she feels uncomfortable about it, but I know that she's probably just worried that her situation may get worse. And also she's worried about her husband. So with him finding out that someone's been doing something towards her would probably be a big concern for a husband. So I can understand her concern, but it should never be allowed to carry on. So
yeah,
I think his option is to report it and let the pieces fall where they may, because he could get sued, the company could get sued. There's a whole bunch of things.
Yeah. If I was in that situation, at the end of the day, I would have to report it. But during the day, I would think to myself, I would be torn, because the right thing to do is to report it. But at the same time, I don't want her to feel more uncomfortable than she already does.
Yeah, that's the problem. And she didn't want anyone to say anything,
Correct.
which is hard because he deals right there with her. So she'll probably be angry at him.
Yeah.
But as far as the law goes,
He has to
he
do what he has to do what he has to go ahead and report it.
yeah, because they're held accountable as soon as they learn about an issue.
Correct. Let's see. For students who say to report, ask them what they will explain to Julia Martinez about their decision. Are they willing to get her fired over this? If they say she won't get fired because retaliation is illegal, ask what proof she has of harassment. Does anything prevent her boss from firing her for some other reason? Does filing a harassment claim prevent her from ever being fired? Okay.
Ooh.
All right. If
I know that that is
you know, it's I don't know how I don't know how the investigating process would go because you have the boss, Robert French, and then you have Julia, and one person says that yes, it happened. One person says no, it doesn't. No, it did not. And I don't know how you would get to the bottom of that.
mm-hmm.
He said, she said,
Yeah,
but,
right.
but
She's a subordinate.
yeah, but I do know that her job would not be on the line because it would be illegal for him to them to get rid of her because of uh, sexual discrimination or possible sexual discrimination.
Yes, but it also on the federal is this. It didn't say if this would be a federal or a state case because in here in page 4 of that Harvard law of the discrimination, it says under state system that the states often are more favorable to plaintiffs than the federal law.
Yes.
So the states looks like they help those that are making the claim more than if it's a federal law and federal system, then sometimes the defendant might get more favorable reactions. So yeah. That one's a tough one. I can't see remedies for victims under federal law. Employees who prove that they have been harassed. If they can prove it, that's just the thing. How do you prove someone doing those kinds of things? That's just the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. But in this, I it's very frustrating because nowadays everything is um, everything is um, Everything normally goes the victim's way nowadays.
Mm,
And that even if they say something happened and it really did not, you're still going to get in trouble for it
mhm.
because they go and they basically take the side of the victim. It's up um, to the person um, who pursued the other person. It's basically their responsibility to come up with what is it? With proof that nothing happened.
Oh, okay. Well,
I,
I was
I
rereading some of this just to see if there was anything that said, that they would be safe from um, being fired. But I don't see it in here.
hmm.
Do you remember seeing anything about whether or not they would be protected by law when they?
No, I do not remember seeing anything about that.
I don't remember. It's just after it's proof that there's something has happened, they get all this compensation. Emails is a definite proof. I don't know. That's a hard one. It's a hard question.
Yes, it is. Okay. Um, uh, all right, next question. Um, Next question would be, for students who say to do nothing, ask about DeCost's ethical duties. What does DeCoste owe any ethical duty to other possible victims of the perpetrator?
Or
Oh,
predator.
yeah. Okay, does DeCoste owe any ethical duty to other possible victims of the perpetrator? What would you say? Does
Yes. That's why I think I voted that he should tell because of his ethical responsibility.
Yeah, if French did it to one secretary, he probably did it to others.
Mm-hmm.
And if he didn't, great, but at least um, they're on the side of precaution.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Does he owe Julia any ethical duty if she feels unable to stick up for herself? Does he owe Julia any ethical duty if she feels unable to stick up for herself?
I'm not sure what that. would apply is his duty is to help her by reporting it so that he can help stop the situation. If are we still talking under the part where they don't report it? Is that under that phrasing that question is, or is this a whole new question?
This is a new question.
Oh, okay.
Does he owe Julia any ethical duty if she feels unable to stick up for herself? I think he does, because it's very possible that she will not stick up for herself because she
Of her
may
peers.
feel that her if she tries to stick up for herself, that she might get a poor rating from him, and therefore if she's in a probationary period, like 6-month probation, she might think that, hey, if I stick up for myself, I lose my job.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But if DeCoste says something and the legal office or the council actually um, knows that something's going on, then there's no way that they can get rid of her, because they know that he can't give her a bad recommendation, I guess.
The only thing I'm concerned about
What?
from this is that the DaCosta says that he and French spent time together in social things outside of work, and so their families have got together periodically, which goes that he's totally blindsided by this. So if he was to ask a character reference, he has no proof that this guy is doing anything bad, because as far as his character references, they hang out. He allows this guy to be around his family and things because he had no clue. So if that would be a concern for me, is thinking he does social things with this guy. So what is he going to say? He has no proof that it's happening. All he has is what he heard. So
And that's all he can pass on to the council or the legal department.
right. But I mean, as far as what he heard from her and trusting that she's being honest, he needs to help her
Yeah.
fight that if that's happening, because it's wrong.
Correct. All right. Next question. For students who still think DeCoste should report to the EEO office, ask them to tell specifically what they would report.
Do you still have a driver's license?
Let's see. Oh, you could have 2 students role play this. We don't have 2 students, so we're skipping that one. But,
I know. I see all these other guys with all their like 4 or 5 people here on the screen, and we're like
yeah.
this little too.
I need you to take care of it now because I have to get back on Chris.
All right.
I don't know what's going to say.
Okay. Let's see. So, okay, for students who still think DeCoste should report to the EEO office, ask them to tell specifically what they would report.
What would we report?
Yes.
We report that we overheard a conversation that caused the person, while they were discussing it, to cry, and their feelings about a sexual harassment episode that happened in the office.
Yes. And that's all you can really tell?
And that's all we can say. Yep.
You didn't hear it firsthand, you just overheard it.
Yes. But she was crying
Yeah,
and she wasn't talking to anyone that it would make it look like she was faking.
correct. All right. Now your team will consider what to include in a company's sexual harassment policy. Oh, this is fun. Assign each of your team members a role. Potential victim of harassment, accused harasser, bystander, legal counsel.
Oh, great. So we get 2 each.
I I don't know about you, but I'm
Just go for it.
going to choose to skip it. Because,
But I think
sorry.
this is part of your write-up, which is the problem. This is what you have to do a write-up on.
Well, all right. Potential victim of harassment.
We'll just discuss each one. So go ahead. What's
Okay.
the first thing that we're supposed to, who's the first person?
The potential victim of harassment.
And what is it that we're supposed to role play or say or do?
I have a little.
Uh,
Jackie, supervisor's license.
okay. I'll go ahead and read all the way down to the end of the paragraph. If there are more than 5 members of your team, assign more than one person per role. Give them 5 to 10 minutes to do the following. Given your assigned role, identify the most important things you want to see in the new policy and procedures that your organization is formulating to govern sexual harassment issues. Be prepared to defend your choices, as other people may not agree with them. When they've had enough time, ask each person to tell what they came up with. Ask how the different roles influence their approach to appropriate policies and procedures. How would you balance these concerns in a policy? Now take 10 minutes to try to agree on an actual policy that an organization, you could use Lone Star for an example, should adopt with respect to sexual harassment policies and procedures. Okay.
Okay. So we're discussing policies and we're doing it at the viewpoint of each of these people. So the first person is the victim, did you say?
Correct. The potential victim of the harassment.
Okay, so one of the policies or procedures I think would definitely be that what we just discussed about her feeling safe in her job for disclosing it for investigation. So to go and be able to feel comfortable to mention it, to what's the word,
To mention it, to report it.
to report it, yeah, to report an incident, she needs to feel comfortable in order to do so. So there needs to be a policy in place that will guarantee that she will not be fired
Correct.
for discussing or disclosing a possible harassment.
Yes.
What else would I think as a victim?
You know, I think a good rule of thumb is never be alone.
True, but that's kind of hard if she's over in the photocopying room and
I understand that, but it happened mainly in his office.
yeah.
So I would have said to have what was it? I would have said keep the door open or leave the door open.
Yep. Yep.
So that's what
What's
that's
another policy? Um, I don't know, maybe to keep it anonymous.
that that's always the best thing, to keep it anonymous, but unfortunately that's not possible. Never possible. So
Um,
so
I don't know. What's another person? I can't think of anything else.
another person.
Type of harassment can increase the subject.
Let's move on to the accused harasser.
What is dinner?
Accused harasser. If it's a false accusation, then you'd want to, don't know.
Okay, the accused harasser. You know, for the accused harasser, you know, the best policy is just to keep your hands to yourself.
That's true, but if they are falsely being accused, you know, if like, I don't know, say the mail cart is coming by and he has to get out of the way and he accidentally touches someone who's also trying to get out of the way, and then it's misconstrued as advance. I know one time it's not and you have to prove it after several times with the hostile harassment clause. So then that wouldn't be as much of a problem, but I don't know. I've just heard of some people being accused falsely
Well,
for happening.
yeah, you know, a lot of people, you can tell if they're truly sorry or if they're just saying sorry.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I think if you're truly sorry, that the victim can understand that it was unintentional. But if you just say sorry and you don't seem to mean it, then I don't know about you, but I think it's pretty easy to tell when you're just basically giving lip service.
That's true, but if a subordinate is trying to get your job and they falsely accuse you of that, that's a pretty serious accusation. But if they can get away with it, then they're fired for falsely accusing you of something you never ever did.
Yeah.
So, because there are people out there that are trying to climb the ladder, and if you're in the way.
Correct. But at the same time, you can also, if you are let go, you have the option of going and seeking your own counsel and trying to get your job back, and also for punitive damages too.
True.
So I think that legal departments tend to not jump to conclusions, because they know that if they jump to conclusions, it might blow up in their face.
So it's definitely a good policy to have an investigation. I think maybe that's what we're coming down to saying.
Yeah.
An investigation is needed in order to figure out whether it really happened or not.
Correct. All right. The bystander. Bystander.
The bystander.
The bystander.
What policies are in place for a bystander that they don't have to get involved?
You know, that would be nice, but But-
Uh,
you know, it's almost just like driving your car without insurance. No, driving a friend's car with no insurance on it. You think that they would have an up-to-date insurance card in their glove box, so you don't check. Well, you are stopped, and they ask for your license and registration and your insurance. That doesn't hold up very well in court.
oh. Wouldn't have ever thought of that, actually. So if we were a bystander, the policy would be, I guess, to follow the code of ethics.
Yes.
To be supportive of the supportive of the victim, or
Yes.
to help the victim, be a mouthpiece for the victim, or help them give voice to the harassment. Especially if they witness it the first hand.
Correct. If they witness it, if they go ahead and they witness it firsthand, then it's no longer a thing of he said, she said.
Right.
There's actually two people on one of the two sides,
Mm-hmm.
and that always helps.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, let's do the wrap up. Oh, we never did go over legal counsel.
What, the policies for legal counsel?
Yeah. It was one of the 4.
Well, definitely, I think goes back to that other one of getting an investigation to make sure that all of the information is available. I think I don't know, they have the right to compensation, or the right to correct actions, or maybe they have the right to, I don't know. I don't know.
All right. I really thought that we already talked about legal counsel within the other 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
So we will go on to the Lone Star wrap up.
Sounds
Okay. Tell the group what actually happened in the Lone Star case. This is a real case, even though the company and individuals have been disguised. When Jack called corporate counsel, he forgot about caller ID. The lawyer used the information he gave her to figure out the people he was talking about. She contacted the Lone Star Equal Employment Opportunity, which launched a formal investigation. The EEO tried hard to get Martinez to cooperate. French denied all charges, claiming
Cool.
that Martinez had made up her story to protect herself from pending layoffs. DeCoste was asked for evidence, but he didn't have any. Julia Martinez's husband found out what was going on, beat up Julia, and forced her to quit. French survived the investigation with only a bruised reputation. He blamed everything on DeCoste for calling corporate counsel. There was so much animosity between DeCoste and French that DeCoste left the company after 3 months. Ask your group what was Lone Star's sexual harassment policy. If Lone Star had one, did Jack know anything about it? What policies, procedures, or training might have improved the situation Jack found himself in? Would the policy you created as a group have been helpful to Jack? Could clear policies and procedures have helped to avoid any of the final consequences of this case? So, is there anything that you could think of that would have, if the policies were clear, or the policies and procedures were clear, do you think anyone would have gotten into trouble? I think not, because people would know. I think that people would know the the limits and the boundaries.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. True. And they would know that it's their right to discuss it and to report it. So then they wouldn't be as wouldn't have accused DaCosta as much for reporting what he heard. I think that's awful about the husband beating her up. That's just awful.
Yeah.
The thing is legal counsel called without any proof or without any, it was just hearsay. He didn't disclose who he was talking about, and yet she got involved and jumped the gun. And correct. I think she was, in a sense, lawyers are kind of held to that confidentiality clause, and I think she went out of that confidentiality.
Yes, she crossed
and discussed it.
Yes.
Because, yes, he didn't have any proof to disclose it, and if there was no policies in place, then yeah, that's why everything went crazy.
Correct. All right.
I feel terrible. That's awful.
Well,
I knew that's what would happen. That's, I mean, that in the back of my mind is like the guy would be like, no proof. Where is there proof that, what kind of proof do you have to have for that kind of thing? That's just, Oh, that makes me mad. Oh,
Well, as far as the questions go, that's the end of the questions.
okay.